Introducing the all-new Enclave. It's a minivan to the max, with features like remote control sliding rear doors, 150 cable channels, a full Skyview roof, temperature-controlled cup holders, and the 6-point navigation system. It's the minivan for families on the go.
And welcome to another edition of Access Central TV. I'm Andy Hersman, the host, and I have a very special guest today. His name is Paul Cartier. I've known him for a very long time, and if you're a Long Islander, he probably has touched your life in some kind of way, but we'll talk about that. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andy. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but you know, I've been keeping track of what you've been doing, and you have an amazing life, and that's basically what we want to talk about today. I met you back in the 80s, mid-80s, and back then we both worked for Cablevision.
Right.
And so you have a TV background in a way, you know.
A little bit
of production. So that's one thing that Paul has touched people with, is TV production. Do you remember we used to work at Channel 14?
Yeah, I actually took a job out of college in the mailroom.
Wow.
And for $10,000 a year.
Got to start somewhere, right?
That was exactly right. And but you know, it's a great job because I met everybody right to the top, you know, so that was a good way to get around. And I only was in there for like 6 months, and they moved me into Channel 14 was the on Cablevision guide, and was just being born.
Isn't that amazing?
So I got into that and helped devise that little blue page that they had with the 14 on it, and we put some people together, and we had a woman, Camille Ivron, who would just every day call up these different stations and different shows and make sure what was going on that day. And then then we started doing the talking heads, if you remember, right?
That's right, that's right.
Where people would come on 2 minutes each half hour and say, coming up on Cablevision, and we'd have edited trailers during the day, and they sat there live with their little cards underneath instead of any kind of a real teleprompter. But it worked.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, some of your work, maybe someone has actually seen that work if they watched cable in the 80s and saw Channel 14.
You saw the back of my head.
Yeah, so there you go.
You had one guy operating the whole thing, but you had your back to them, and they had the person talking.
Exactly. So, well, the show's about you, but I just wanted to tell everybody that you know, because of you, I've had a great career in television.
That's
you know,
nice.
not just you, but you really made a big difference in my life. And,
Thank you.
And I know you're a modest guy, and
I've followed you. You know, social media today. I've watched where you've gone to.
So, but you know, again, I really owe you a lot as far as, you know, I've had some hard times as a teenager, and you know, getting through hard times, and people like you, just the fact that you showed that you cared, and you just even mentioned, you know, you helped me get a car to get to work, and you know, through your work at the fire department, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've done a lot for me, and I'm sure you've done a lot for other people, which I want to get into also, because a person like you, you don't come about, you know, to somebody like that. You look in the news and you always see horrible, terrible things, and I think, you know, people should know about the good things that are happening. And you know, if there were more people like you in the world, I think the whole world would be a better place.
Am I read yet? Thank you.
So, well, to move on, you know, just to get that out of the way, but you know, I really wanted everybody, the viewers, to know that.
Glad you've done well.
Well, again, I have people like you to thank for that. So after Cablevision, you moved on. What was the next thing you started to do?
Actually, I left and I went to sell electronics, because if anybody knows me, I'm an electronics freak.
Oh, I do remember that, yes. Yeah, what was that, PC Richards?
Actually, it was
the Wiz?
The Wiz.
The Wiz, right. And,
no, actually, I did them for a while. I was Circuit City. That was it.
Oh, and then
it was Lafayette Circuit City at the time.
Wow. So they don't exist anymore, so luckily you left that alone, right?
Yeah, tried selling, and then I went into actually transmissions in cars, but I was the sales manager and kept the shop going, did that a few years.
Wow. Wow.
And then a friend of mine, actually it was the girl next door, her boyfriend and then soon-to-be husband was an air traffic controller, and he suggested I go take the test.
Wow. So
It
that's how that
was-
happened.
That was in '87, so that was 6 years after the strike. And I was
Right.
still trying to fill positions, and it was actually in the paper to go take the
Yeah.
test. So-
Actually, I do remember you even, offered it to me, and I didn't have the guts to do it. So.
Hey, I didn't know. I just took the test. If they call me, fine. I'd worry about it then, and they did. And I wasn't really looking to spend my life in transmissions.
Okay.
So went out to Oklahoma City for the 4 months.
It took 4 months of training?
Well, it's 4 months of a screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they decide whether they think you can do it or not. And it was pretty much 50-50, pass fail. Half the class failed and half made it. I just made it,
Amazing.
but I made it.
That's all that counts.
And then I went into a career that I just absolutely loved. It was great.
Wow. Can you explain a little bit what it's like? I mean, most people don't, they can imagine, but they can't really fathom.
Well, there's a couple of different phases. Most people, first off, I'm not the guy that did that. People think that they have the wands and you're bringing the plane in. That's not the controller. But you have the tower.
Okay.
That was not me either.
Okay.
I worked in an en route center because once you're up in the air, somebody has to talk to you.
Okay.
So I sat in front of a radar scope with a headset and talked to planes, and you had a job depending on what sector you were at. An example would be right above where we are now would be like the Kennedy sector, and you owned it was like 3D chess in that particular sector, 18,000 feet and up. And they called it Kennedy because you were over Kennedy, but we had nothing to do with the airport because they're already down low by that point.
Ah, okay.
My primary job at that sector was to put the Boston Logans from 4 feeds into 1.
Wow.
And also the Hartford Bradleys, Hartford International, and then the overflights that go overseas that come all the way up from as far as Dallas, Atlanta, Florida. They just fly up overhead New York.
That's amazing.
So you would take, I'd get the 4 feeds or 3 feeds from Boston and from Philly and a couple from Washington Center, and you had to turn them and mingle them and get them, sometimes 10, 15 miles in trail.
Wow.
And it was a fun job, It really was.
It amazes me that you can call it fun. I mean, most people would, the stress involved, there's got to be some kind of stress.
It had its moments.
Okay.
Summer was tough because you had the storms.
Yeah.
So, you could be going out of Kennedy or LaGuardia and it's beautiful. And they don't realize is, 600 miles of a storm, from Canada all the way down, past Philadelphia that you can't get through. And they were, what's the delay for, So,
Right.
but when those storms start to build, which they build almost every day over the Poconos and such, and they come together and the planes are flying towards them and you only have 8 miles between them, and now this guy wants to deviate this way, and so you had to be on your toes. In fact, I used to tell people that made it more fun because now it was different. I had to think differently than every other day.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
it still amazes me because I've tried it on a simulator on a computer
Mm-hmm.
just as a game, and I sucked at it. So I was happy.
I'm telling you, when you sat there, if you got lucky enough to come in and watch a controller work and he was busy, I mean, you're just rattling off clearances,
Well, they make it look easy.
Well, it's because it takes the training. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to dumb it down, but I used to tell people, it's like a video game, and the first time you open the video game and nobody ever reads the directions,
Right.
It's game over. And then the next time, well, you anticipate a little bit because you've already seen some of it. And as you would go along, you got better, mostly because you could anticipate what was coming.
Right.
So
right.
those who could really anticipate well made really good controllers. Except it took 3 years really to learn that on live traffic.
Right,
So you
right.
can't just come in and sit down and learn that.
It's amazing. It
takes a while.
I can't even fathom it, but I really think that if anybody who has flown out of one of the 3 major airports here, you're one of the people to thank that they've had a safe trip.
No, it's funny, because you think about it, like, you probably heard my voice in that cockpit.
Yeah. So that's one of the things, in the beginning of the show, I said, if you're a Long Islander, you've touched somebody's lives, most likely.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons, besides the broadcasting. But another thing that most people are excited about, because I see you on a lot of different media, because you play the organ, obviously. Well, not obviously. No, some people might not know that. But for the Islanders and
Yankees.
and the Yankees.
Right.
And so you have a pretty good music background also.
Yeah, that was my degree, actually.
That was your degree at, what is it, Hofstra, I think it was?
Hofstra.
Yeah. So real Long Islander here. Now, before you started playing for the major leagues and all that, you got practice. I know you play at churches.
I played in church. It's the eve of my 11th birthday.
Wow. So which churches do you play at?
Well, I just play one now. I'm at Our Lady of Hope in Carl Place. I've been there 27 years.
Wow.
And then I fill in. I fill in Freeport, and Our Holy Redeemer, St. Christopher's in Baldwin, East Rockaway, St. Raymond's.
Wow.
You know, I'll fill in all over. And now that I retired from the FAA, I'm available to do more of that.
That's very good. Well, see, that's another thing. You know, again, now you're touching other people's lives, you know, with the music. And again, you know, it's just amazing. Every time I turn around, you know, you're doing something that affects other people's lives in a good way, you know. Even just music in a church where people enjoy the music and the singing. I think that's fantastic. It brings joy to people.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, just that alone is just amazing.
Even I could hear a little crossover. It's not like I do this often, but there was a funeral I played, and the grandson did a beautiful eulogy for his grandfather, and a lot of it was about the Yankees, how he loved his Yankees.
Okay.
So, like I said, I don't normally say this, but when I went downstairs and told him how beautiful it was, and then I showed him my ring, I said, "I'm the Yankees organist, so now you know he played for your grandfather." And all of a sudden, the real sadness turned more into joy, and then they started telling everybody, "Hey, how cool is this? That Grandpa had the Yankee organist." So
that's fantastic.
Kinda neat, you know.
Well, it's, you know, I don't know if you try to add up all the joy you brought to people, it's insurmountable, you know. I mean,
I don't think I've really thought of that.
Yeah,
way,
but
it's,
you know, I know you're a modest person, but you know, there are people who appreciate everything you do. And that's why, again, I think more people should realize, you know, what you've done with your life, because it's so amazing. Could you explain maybe a little bit how you got the jobs at, you know, the Yankees and the Islanders? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, the Islanders, I guess, is what really kicked it off. I've been an Islander fan since day one. My brother took me, he was 10 years older than me. He took me to the first game the Islanders ever played. Wow. I was 12 years old. And I was already playing organ by that point anyway. So it was great. He got season tickets. He still has them today. And not so much with Brooklyn, but he's sharing those because it's too far. But
okay.
So I would naturally, you know, like emulate the person that was playing, and I knew everything that they could play. So when I was 15, now I don't know who it was, and even if I did, I wouldn't say it, but he wasn't very good.
Okay.
So I went to the Coliseum and said I'd like to try out for this job, and they laughed at me. And I was like, all right, but I think I can do a better job. So then I went well, you know, every time goes by, I go to Hofstra, and one of my professors there was Dr. Fred Mendelson, and he was then the organist for the Islanders.
Oh, okay.
And Hofstra, even though you could be a proficient at on the keyboard, made you take, you know, like keyboard 101, and he was the guy who taught it.
Okay.
So I'd sit in this classroom with all these electric pianos and quietly start doing the stuff he would do at the game. So one day he's like, "Who's doing that?" And I'm like, "It's me." So explained it to him. He says, "Come up. Why don't you come up to the next game?" So the next game I went up to visit him. Between periods, he's like, "Go ahead. Let me see you play." I'm like, "There's people out there." He's like, "So what? Play." So I played, and then he explained to me that they were bringing in a soccer team, indoor soccer.
Okay.
And he really didn't want to do the indoor soccer because at the time the organ was at the top of section 306. There was no press box yet. And again, he was older, and it was tough for him to get up and down those stairs. So that's when it opened up. I did the soccer for 6 years in New York Arrows.
Okay.
And then right away that first year, he had a couple of dates that he couldn't make, so they let me fill in for the Islanders.
Wow.
And that got me into the year that was the year they won the Cup the first time. So even though I didn't play, I was in the organ booth when they won that.
Right, right.
And the next year he played again, and I got more work out of it. And then by the following year, he retired.
Wow.
So for the last 2 years they won the Cup, I was there. I was there for another year, I think, or two after. And back then it was just organ and PA. There was no
other
rock
stuff.
music, no
Wow.
recorded music.
Amazing.
So, but that started to come in, and they brought in a producer, and then he brought in, actually it was a producer from the Yankees, he brought in Eddie Layton, so I couldn't really be that annoyed that I got knocked out by one of the
Right.
most well-known organists.
Right, right.
But then he only was there a couple of years, and then we had a time where they were bringing in different people, and but I always kept my foot in the door because I lived 5 minutes in the Coliseum. So I'd send a letter. This is who I am. I've been here. If you need anybody, let me know.
That's
So I
just
always
amazing.
kept my foot in the door, and then I got back. I guess I've been back there about 15 years now, full time.
Can you explain exactly though how it feels to have that? You're at the game, and you have this power in front of you. You can get the crowd going.
Well,
I mean,
that's
what does
good
that
and
feel
bad.
like? I mean, it's got to be an amazing feeling that most people just don't experience.
It is. It's great. I mean, here you are as big a fan. It's not a job.
Okay.
It's fun. This
Right.
is my team.
Right.
And
Right.
I can get the crowd going. And I can express myself through music.
That's amazing.
And that's one of the things that I say about live versus recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have it recorded, it's always going to be the same thing. And where I can be a little more, I can bring my feelings out.
Okay.
By being really, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, it
really
gives it that
showing
human touch.
Yeah. So, but on the other hand, if the ref makes a bad call, I had to be real careful with what I would do.
Oh, sure,
So
sure.
there was one time where back in the old days, when it was the old organ, and I would always do the bossy, or Billy chant or whatever.
Sure.
And the ref made a bad call, and I started doing that same chant, and they yelled something else. The initials were BS. And and the next game, as I came up, there was an NHL official saying, "Did you play Saturday night?" I was like, "Yeah, I did." He says, "Well, you did something we weren't very happy with." So I just said, "What are you talking about?" And then he explained. I was like, "Oh, I was just playing Billy. I didn't even realize they were doing that."
So there is some kind of responsibility involved with
yeah,
that.
for
Sure.
sure. And then of course you couldn't play Three Blind Mice.
Ah,
That was just a
right.
you can't do that.
Okay.
So you got to be careful.
Sure. Makes sense. Well, before the show ends, I don't know how much time we have left, but I don't want to leave out the fact that you're about, we got like 5 minutes left? 10? Okay. That should give us some time to talk about your role as a fireman, volunteer fireman. Now, again, here's the guy, whatever he does, he's touching lives for the best. And I'd like to know, how you got started with that and where you are now with it.
It's just friends of mine that I had hung out with. Their dad was in. I didn't even know they'd planned on it. As soon as they turned 18, they joined, and it's the South Hempstead Fire Department. And so they were there, and one day we saw a car accident, and those guys knew what to do, and I felt kind of like, I don't know what's going on. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do this, because we run the ambulance too over there. So
Okay.
I joined, and it's been 37 years.
Wow.
I still get the ambulance out a lot. I don't really go into the fires anymore because I don't want to have a heart attack, but I'll
Right.
still drive the engine and help out wherever I can. But yeah, I still get the ambulance out quite a bit as an emergency medical
That's
technician.
absolutely amazing.
And I even went in and became a commissioner, and I'm in commissioner 18 years, chairman of the board 17 straight years. So that's like the CEO basically,
Sure.
running, and making sure the operation part works properly.
That's-
Buying of the rigs and the equipment, make sure the guys have good equipment, putting together the budgets, dealing with the people who don't like the budgets you've made.
Wow.
That kind of thing.
That's a lot of work. Gee.
But in fact, like yesterday, I did a Yankee game,
Right.
came home, wasn't home 5 minutes, siren went off for an auto accident, and I'm in, wearing my Yankee stuff and everything.
Wow.
And in the ambulance next. So
Amazing.
It's just funny how that all works.
Well, you're wearing a lot of different hats, but it's again, it's all good stuff.
But, it's funny because people say, well, why do you do it all? But I
Yeah.
like it all.
Well,
Like, do I still have to do church? I don't need to do church.
Right.
I'd like to do that.
Right.
Do I have to do the fire department? Heck no. But
No.
it's once you get into that and it gets in your blood.
Well, are there any stories from the past that have you gone to any significant accidents or things like that that
Sure,
stand out?
because we cover the Southern State Parkway. So
Wow.
I've seen a lot, that you wouldn't want anybody to really see.
That's horrible.
But I won't mention his name, but the funniest story I had, it turned out that nobody died.
Okay.
But it was a snowy night. Taxi driver, the old Caprice wagons that had the door in the back that swung open sideways. And I don't know if he slid off the road or had a flat. He moved over to the side. He calls for another taxi to come give him a hand. The guy pulls up. He's in the back getting the tire and everything. And the guy slides right into the back and shuts the door on him.
Oh, wow.
So we get the call, and they're calling for advanced life support. So I actually had to run my little daughter to her godmother 2 doors away at 3 in the morning and wake her up. Get out there, and we've all been taught. Turns out we looks like we have a severed limb. They get the bag, they do the ice, all that. I get in the back of the ambulance, I start to examine the guy, and it turns out he had already lost a leg, and the leg they put on ice was the prosthetic.
Oh, you can't. That's a great story.
Did it great though.
Yeah,
Did it all right.
That's wow.
So, yeah, that's,
wow. Well,
but no, we've seen lots of bad stuff out there. But people drive too fast. We're in that area they call Blood Alley, so they've done many things to make it better. They banked the road 18 inches like a racetrack. And
well, there's only so much you can do, but people really need to be careful when they drive.
Well, you see them weaving in and out. Those are the guys that cause the problems.
It's a shame, but. We're so lucky to have people like you out there, though, protecting us, and it's just amazing. I mean, unfortunately, the show's already over. It's only a half-hour show, and I'm sure you could have talked a lot more about, you're probably full of great stories about, your life. Is there a way someone can get a hold of you if they want to just say hi to you?
I'm on Facebook, and it's pretty open, and I don't know that I've refused anybody on that.
Okay.
But I have an account, Paul Cartier Organist at Gmail.
Okay.
Paul Cartier Organist at Gmail, if you want to email me.
All right. Well, if anybody wants to say hi to Paul and thank him for all the things he's done for Long Island and for everybody here, again, it's an actual pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. That's very nice of you.
And I wish you a lot of success in further on down your career and in your retirement.
And grandpa now. Just had my first grandchild, so that's what I'm.
Congratulations!
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, many, many more years of doing what you're doing. We really appreciate it. So until next week, thanks for watching. This is Access Central TV. Have a good evening.
Central TV.
Properly inflating my tires burns less fuel and saves me money on gas. Yeah, I'm saving Mother Nature from pollution, but more importantly, she saved me $11. Ow!
Environmental defense. Get green.
By keeping my car regularly tuned, I save money on gas and repairs. That also means cleaner air. Feels good to help save the cash, planet.
Environmental defense. Get green. For more tips, go to getgreen.com.
Every week we return all our cans and bottles. Yeah, we help to reduce the world's waste.
But aluminum? It's like gold. Oh, yeah.
Environmental defense. Get green. For more environmentally friendly tips, go to getgreen.com.
Oh, there's a bottle.
Where?
Right over there. To your left. To your left. There you go. You got it.
Sweetheart, smoke outside now. You promise.
Okay, hon.
Sweetheart, smoke outside now. You promise.
What kind of man are you?
I'm a father.
Look here, my father was a father, and he smoked his brains out in the house.
Watch as he blows those smoke rings on my little red face.
You probably have asthma.
Asthma? Schmasma. I'm telling you, nothing's gonna happen to your kids.
I swear.
Don't swear when you're lying. You know very well that thousands of kids get bronchitis, ear infections, and even pneumonia from their parents' cigarette smoke. And didn't you promise your little angels you'd smoke outside?
Hey, Daddy.
Those little devils are just so sweet.
Do the right thing.
Please. please, smoke outside.
Until you can stop, go out for your kids.
Take the pledge. Call 1-800-513-1157.